You scrolled before you even realized you picked up your phone. You're eating that snack you don't even want. You said yes to something you wanted to say no to. Again. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of your day isn't you making decisions. It's patterns, automatic routines running in the background of your brain like software you installed years ago and forgot about. You're not choosing to check your phone 150 times a day. You're not deciding to stress out. You're not actively selecting to procrastinate. These are habits, neural pathways so deeply coded in your brain that they run automatically without conscious input. And here's what makes it terrifying. These habits aren't just things you do, they're who you are. Your daily habits create your identity. Your repeated behaviors sculpt your personality. Your automatic patterns determine your life trajectory. You're essentially addicted to being you, and your brain fights to keep you that way. So today, we're ripping apart the neuroscience of habits, why your brain automates behavior, how habits hijack your dopamine system, why you keep doing things you don't even enjoy anymore, and most importantly, how to break patterns that have been running your life for years. This isn't motivational garbage, this is the raw biology of why change is hard, and the exact mechanisms you can use to reprogram yourself. Let's decode addiction to habits, to patterns, to being you. Every habit follows the same three-part structure: the cue, the routine, and reward. This was discovered by MIT researchers studying the neuroscience of habit formation, and it explains basically every automatic behavior you have. The cue is the trigger. It could be a time of day, an emotion, a location, or another person. You walk into a kitchen, that's the cue. You feel stressed, that's the cue. You finish dinner, that's a cue. Your brain is constantly scanning for these triggers. The routine is the behavior itself. The thing you do automatically in response to the cue. Open the fridge, check your phone, bite your nails. Whatever the pattern is, the reward is what your brain gets from the behavior. And here's what's critical. The reward doesn't have to be good for you. It doesn't even have to feel good anymore. It just has to give your brain something, a hit of dopamine, a distraction from discomfort, a sense of completion. Once this loop fires a few times, your brain starts automating it. Why? Because automation saves energy. Your brain is lazy. It wants to offload as many decisions as possible to autopilot so it can focus conscious attention on new, complex problems. This automation happens in a part of your brain called the basal ganglia. Oh, it's deep, ancient, unconscious. When you first learn a new behavior, your prefrontal cortex is heavily involved. You're thinking through each step, but with repetition, control transfers to the basal ganglia. The basal ganglia is like your brain's autopilot system. It runs routines without bothering your conscious mind. This is why you can drive home and not remember the drive. Why you can get dressed without thinking about it. Why you automatically reach for your phone when you're bored. Here is the physical change happening. Every time you repeat a behavior, the neural pathway for that behavior strengthens. First time, it's like walking through a dense forest. Difficult, slow, it requires intention. After several repetitions, a path starts forming. Easier to follow, requires less conscious effort. After hundreds of thousands of repetitions, it's a superhighway. Signals travel effortlessly. The behavior runs automatically. You don't choose it anymore. It chooses itself. This is neuroplasticity in action. The same mechanism that allows you to learn new skills is also creating automated routines that control your behavior. Your brain physically restructures itself around repeated patterns. And once a pathway becomes a superhighway, it's really hard to stop using it. Really hard. Even if you consciously want to, even if it's hurting you, because your brain defaults to the most well-established route. You're not weak-willed. You're up against biology. Your basal ganglia is running code that was written years ago through repetition, and it will keep running that code until you actively reprogram it. Let's talk about why habits feel so compelling. Why can't you resist checking your phone? Why you eat that cookie even though you're not hungry? Why you fall back into old patterns even when you hate them? It's dopamine. But it's not the way you think. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical that's a myth. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It's your brain's prediction and motivation system. And habits completely hijack it. When you get an unexpected reward, it spikes. The dopamine starts spiking at the cue, not the reward. Your brain anticipates the reward and releases dopamine in advance. This is craving. This is wanting. And if the expected reward doesn't come, dopamine crashes below the baseline. You feel disappointed, frustration, anxious. Your brain punishes you for the reward not appearing. This is why habits are so powerful. Your brain learns to associate the cue with the reward. Phone notification, dopamine spike in anticipation of interesting content. Stressed, dopamine spike in anticipation of comfort food. Bored, dopamine spike in anticipation of scrolling. You're not even enjoying the behavior anymore, but you want it. Your brain has been conditioned to crave it. This is the difference between wanting and liking. Neuroscience shows that these are separate systems in the brain. The wanting system, driven by dopamine, it can be extremely strong. It creates cravings, urges, compulsions. It makes you reach for your phone, eat the snack, check your email. But the liking system, actual enjoyment, satisfaction, it's often much weaker. You mindlessly scroll for 30 minutes and feel nothing. You eat the entire bag of chips and feel nothing. You check your email compulsively, but you feel nothing. You don't even like it anymore, but you still want it because your dopamine system is locked onto the pattern. This is how you become addicted to behaviors that don't serve you. Your brain's prediction system gets so good at anticipating the cue and the reward that it generates craving automatically. You feel compelled to complete the loop. And the worst part? The behavior doesn't even have to work anymore. Even if the reward is diminished or gone, the craving persists. You check your phone and see nothing interesting, but 5 minutes later, you check it again. The habit loop is running on autopilot, independent of actual reward. Your brain has learned the pattern so well that it expects the reward even when logic tells you it won't come. This is why just stop doesn't work. You're fighting against a dopamine prediction system that's been trained through thousands of repetitions. You're literally chemically compelled to complete the loop. And breaking that compulsion requires understanding the mechanism so you can deliberately interrupt it. Your habits are your identity. They are who you are. Not just behaviors. They are you. You are your habits. They make up you. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you're becoming. You go to the gym. That's a vote for being a healthy person. You eat junk food. That's a vote for being unhealthy. You read a book. Vote for being knowledgeable. You scroll mindlessly. Vote for being distraction. Your identity is the sum of your habits. Everything adds up. The patterns you repeat most often literally become your personality, not because of some abstract philosophical reason, but because of neurology. Your brain stores self-concept as neural patterns. When you repeatedly behave a certain way, your brain updates its model of who you are to match those behaviors. You're not a smoker because you smoke. You smoke because your brain has encoded smoker into your identity. And here's why that matters. Your brain will defend your identity, even if it's hurting you. Your current habits, even the bad ones, define your comfort zone. They're familiar, predictable, safe. Your brain knows how to run these patterns efficiently. When you try to change, you're not just breaking a habit, you're threatening your identity. Your brain interprets this as danger. It resists. It pulls you back toward familiar patterns because that's where it feels safe. This is why New Year's resolutions fail. You try to change your behavior without changing your identity. You say, I want to quit, but your brain still identifies as before. So under stress, under pressure, when willpower is low, you default to the identity your brain believes is true. And stress accelerates this. When you're stressed, your prefrontal cortex, the rational decision making part, loses control. The basal ganglia takes over. Under stress, your brain runs the most well established programs, the deepest habits, the oldest patterns. This is why you relapse under pressure. Your brain is literally reverting to its most familiar version of you. So here's the insight. If you want to change your habits, you have to change your identity first. You can't just force different behavior. You have to become a different person at the level of self-concept. Don't say, I want to run a marathon. Say, I am a runner. Don't say, I'm trying to quit smoking. Say, I am a non-smoker. The subtle shift from outcome-focused to identity-focused changes everything. When your identity shifts, behavior follows naturally. A runner doesn't have to force themselves to run. It's who they are. A non-smoker doesn't fight cravings. They don't identify with that behavior anymore. Your brain will align your behavior with your identity. So change the identity. The habits change automatically. This is working with your neurology instead of against it. Alright, let's get tactical. How do you actually change when your brain is wired to resist? First principle, focus on Keystone habits. These are habits that trigger cascade efforts throughout your life. One Keystone habit, like exercising regularly or getting enough sleep, doesn't just change that one area, it triggers a chain reaction. You exercise so you have more energy. More energy means better food choices. Better food choices means improved mood. Better mood means better relationships. Better relationships means higher productivity. One habit, properly chosen, can transform multiple areas of your life simultaneously. This is why you don't need to change everything at once. You need to identify the one habit that, if changed, would make everything else easier. James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, identified 4 laws for behavior change, and they map directly onto the neuroscience we've covered. Make it obvious. Your basal ganglia responds to cues automatically. If you want to build a habit, make the cue impossible to miss. Want to drink more water? Put a water bottle on your desk. Want to read more? Put books where you see them. Make it attractive. Your dopamine system drives motivation. If you want to do something, pair it with something you already crave. Listen to podcasts only while exercising. Drink coffee only while working on important projects. You're hacking the reward prediction system. Make it easy. Your brain defaults to the path of least resistance. Reduce friction for good habits. Lay out gym clothes the night before. Pre-cut vegetables. Remove obstacles. Your basal ganglia will choose the easiest option. Make it satisfying. Your brain needs immediate feedback. These are neurological interventions. If the reward is delayed, the habit won't stick. Find ways to get instant gratification. Track your progress visibly. Celebrate small wins. Give your dopamine system something now, not later. These aren't motivational tricks. You're deliberately designing your environment and the behavior patterns to work with how your brain actually functions. An environment design is maybe the most powerful tool you'll have. Because your environment is essentially a cue delivery system. If junk food is visible, your brain sees the cue, predicts the reward, releases dopamine, creates craving. You don't consciously decide to eat it. Your environment triggered the automatic pattern. But if healthy food is visible and junk food is hidden, the cues change. Your brain is prompted towards different patterns. You're not relying on willpower, you're changing which autopilot programs run. This is the secret. Don't try to resist temptation with willpower. Remove the temptation from your environment. Make the bad habit invisible, difficult, and unsatisfying. Make the good habit obvious, easy, and rewarding. Your basal ganglia will run the patterns with your environment makes easiest. So design the environment strategically. Let's bring this to a close with the most important concept: identify-based habit change. Most people approach change like this. I want to lose weight. That's an outcome. You're focused on the result, and when the result is far away, motivation fades. The habit doesn't stick. But if you flip it, if you focus on identity instead, everything changes. I'm a healthy person. That's an identity. And healthy people make healthy choices, not because they're forcing themselves, but because it aligns with who they are. Every action you take is evidence of your identity. Every time you go to the gym, you prove to yourself, I am someone who exercises. Every time you choose the salad, you reinforce, I am someone who eats well. Your brain updates its self-model based on evidence. Give it evidence of a new identity through repeated small actions, and eventually the identity becomes real, not aspirational, real. And here's why small changes compound. The math of marginal gains. If you get 1% better every single day for a year, you don't end up 365% better. You end up 37 times better. Oh my God! Because improvement compounds. Each day builds on the previous day. But the opposite is also true. Get 1% worse every day, skip the workout, eat poorly, procrastinate, and you decay exponentially. By the end of the year, you're near 0. Uh-oh. This is why tiny habits matter. You're not trying to transform overnight. You're trying to shift the trajectory by 1%. Just slightly better than yesterday. Repeated daily, that creates exponential change. So here's the truth about being addicted to being you. Yes, your current habits are chains. Neural pathways carved deep through repetition. Automated patterns running your life. A dopamine system locked onto behaviors you don't even enjoy anymore. But you're not stuck. You're just running old code. And code can be rewritten. Your brain is plastic. It changes based on what you do repeatedly. Right now, it's shaped by years of old habits. But starting today, you can feed it new patterns, new evidence, new identity. You don't need massive willpower. You need strategic design. Make good habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. Make bad habits invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unrewarding. Change your environment. Choose a keystone habit. Focus on identity, not outcomes. And every single day, make one choice that proves to your brain, I am becoming someone new. One choice, 1% better. Repeated over months and years. That's how you break free from the patterns that have been running your life. You're not a prisoner of your habits. You're a work in progress, and your brain is waiting for new instructions. This is Psychomath, where we decode the math, biology, and psychology behind who you are and who you can become. Next video, the method of decision making. How your brain calculates choices while you make irrational decisions and the algorithms running underneath every choice you make. Please like and subscribe if you like this video and comment me your constructive criticism. So tell me how I did. You're addicted to being you, but addiction is just a very strong habit and habits can change. Thanks for watching. Now go prove to your brain who you're becoming.